Hi, Crickellectuals. Welcome to another episode of our Crickellectuals podcast. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the semifinal with Pakistan and Australia, and also the final coming up tomorrow between Australia and New Zealand. I'm joined by my co-host here, Rufan. What's going on, man? How are you feeling?
I'm good, man. What a roller coaster of a week we had. We cleared the knockout stage undefeated, and then this came the semifinal.
Yeah, man.
I know it was fun to watch the entire match, and I thought we had it until the last 5 overs. Initially, I thought we were 20 runs short, and I think that was probably gettable in the last over as well. But it would have been a good target to compete with versus what we had on the board.
That's so funny because I thought the same thing. I was so confident we were winning. I was so confident. My kids were watching with me again because we were off that day. It was the Thursday. It was Veterans Day, the holiday here. And yeah, we're just home and it was on in the morning and we're watching it. And I'm feeling so confident telling the kids, yeah, we just need two more of these Australians out. And after Warner, we're going to be good. And now they're standing at, 5 out. And I was so confident. I was like taking bathroom breaks. I was like, it's gonna be fine. I don't need to watch every moment. And then at the very end, I'm like, oh my God, they lost. And then my kids are like, what? They lost? And I totally caught them by surprise too, because I was preparing them for a win.
Beauty of cricket, man. I think it happened, and I don't know if you have heard about the term Australianism, where they believe match is not over until the last ball is bowled, and they really go by that method, and they actually train and psychologically prepare themselves for each match, and they always come through. We have, I think, 6 out of 6 defeats against them in the knockout stage.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of that. I mean, I was, telling my kids exactly. I think they're gonna win, but obviously it's a game of cricket, and we just gotta wait till the very end. We're gonna see how the game changes, if at all. Even though Pakistan had a very strong showing, it did feel like they weren't so easily in the game. Like you couldn't very confidently say that, oh, the game's in the bag. Australia was always right there at the edge of, possibility that they could come in, and they just utilized the little mistakes that happened in the end from the Pakistan side really well to get back into that zone of, yeah, we got the game. So they just never let them get totally out of it, which was really, really, I think, commendable, and also credit goes to them for that. But let's, break it down a little bit. What did you think about the Pakistani batting? They batted first. They scored 176 with a loss of, I believe, 4 wickets, and set Australia the target of 177. What did you think about the Pakistani innings?
I think we did great, actually. The only occasions where I thought we could have done better, and I called it, when babarazam plays the last ball and you haven't hit a boundary, he always takes a chance. I mean, he scored 39, which is a good score, and he's had a good campaign overall. The second over was that I thought could have been dealt better with was 19th over, when we only scored 3 runs, and
Yeah,
that's
man,
where the
that was
game
that.
could have changed.
Who was that Australian bowler? What was his name? Cummins. That was just crazy to me that was
I, I
happening.
I really think that's the game changer, despite of what people are saying. Hassan Ali dropping the catch, I think that was it. And another thing I noticed, Asif Ali plays very well when you bowl him wide Yorker, and he usually hits that on mid off, but he opted out to hit a straight six with that, and that was obviously, you lost distance when he tried to attempt that. So, and he could have stopped that ball, man. We had enough balls to go around to stick around, but I mean, you can always break it down this way in a negative way, but
Of
at the end
course.
of the day, you got to notice, you've never seen the nerves exposed on Australians playing any team, and they were visibly nervous playing Pakistan. I've never seen that before from Australia. They show a lot of confidence, and that day it looked like they were playing either England or South Africa. Pakistan put a lot of pressure on them, and games can change, man. You can pinpoint little weaknesses here and there, and that's what competition is all about. So Hassan Ali, Asif Ali hit those 4 sixes, right? We don't talk about the bowlers' weaknesses. We talk about Asif Ali, who
Yeah.
hit these sixes. So we gotta give the credit to the batsman, man. It's at that point they have nothing to lose. Hardest Rauf is gonna come last over, and he's very pacey. All you have to do is just nick him, and fours were gonna go behind the stumps anyway. So there, I think we were 20 runs short, and even if Hassan Ali had taken that catch, that wouldn't have changed anything, really.
So you would have liked 196, and correct me if I'm understanding you correctly. You're feeling like a bit of Asif Ali could have done a little bit better to get close to that total.
He didn't have to go first ball. That's what I
Okay.
think. And 196 would have put more pressure, and they would have started hitting in the 16th over versus 17th and 18, and that changes the momentum altogether because they were 4 out. We only needed 2 more wickets, and Stoinis was on the other end. I was scared of him more.
Yeah. You didn't mention Rizwan while talking about Pakistan's batting. What do you think of Rizwan's inning?
Dude, what a gem of a player. His brilliance, resilience, and mastery and how he plays the game is awesome. Think about it, man, this guy was in ICU for 2 days. He comes back, he scores his 50. Was nervous a little bit. He might have been sick because we haven't seen that in any other matches. Got hit on the face, had a bruise on his face. He was struggling while running between the wickets, but he came through, man. All praises to him. And I saw a comment when they officially announced on ESPN Cricket Info Facebook page about his sickness and he was in ICU. I just wanted to see the comments to see say negative things about him. Not one, man. Bravo to him. He had an excellent campaign along with babarazam.
Yeah. And you have any thoughts on Fakhar Zaman's inning?
Pakistaman struggled in the beginning, but he played a great inning. I think he did well. He was slow in the beginning, but he made up.
Yeah, totally. I feel similarly to you. I feel like Rizwan's inning was really key because he also, when he picks up, he really makes up very quickly for the slower rate that he's going on in the beginning. Like Babar and Rizwan both start not super fast T20 style. They start one day style. They're doing a run a ball. They never usually fall behind the balls in their scoring, which is great, but they never also score at a T20 rate either. Rizwan is the one who usually speeds it up first, and that's what happened in this game as well. His strike rate was 128, 67 runs off 52, which is good. I think he picked up with those sixes in the end, which was nice to see. But in the beginning, yeah, definitely, I felt like he still was not fully healthy or didn't have his eye in. He was swinging too early sometimes. Yeah. So I was worried about him. And just to also state my view on this, I do not co-sign him coming and playing that day. I know it's right now social media is going crazy about how brave he is and how courageous and whatnot and what a hero and whatnot. I agree with all that he played. He played his innings and all that. Obviously, if he's going to be allowed in, he was going to do his best, and I think he did. I just thought it was a bit irresponsible given the pandemic situation that if he had some kind of an infection, I don't know if it was viral, bacterial, whatever the case may be, that he was allowed to go to ICU and be in the team the next morning. It's kind of, to me, it didn't settle well. Like, I felt it was irresponsible on the management side. Like, we should have given him the proper rest. I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad it all worked out in the end. So they're looking like they made the right call. Congratulations to them, and good that Rizwan is okay and he performed well. But I was just really shocked that they allowed him to come in this kind of a situation, jeopardizing a game like this, but also jeopardizing his own health. But moving
I think
on.
your concern is rightfully placed because if he didn't perform well, we would have been criticizing him and we would have been saying the same thing. So it's fair to mention that. And the guy should have been rested. He's done well. Things happen. He's sick, and to send him out there with all the other players, it shouldn't have happened to begin with.
Yeah, I know people have played sick before. Like, people have, there was all kinds of stories about Shoaib Akhtar, Wasim Akram, Imran Khan taking shots and painkillers before coming in because it was a big game. I understand that it's a World Cup game. He's a star player, key player, highest run getter. We needed him. So I'm just glad it worked out in the end. But it's something to be concerned about, that we have to put people's health. And even if he was saying he wanted to be in, I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was probably the one that said, I want to be playing for my country in this important game. I think other people are probably there who can make a better judgment in that type of a situation to not. Also, I mean, especially if it was something like a viral thing, you're also jeopardizing a lot of other people's health.
Yeah,
But
we had the manpower. We had an opener.
we had
Zaman could
Sarfraz.
have come in early. Yeah,
Sarfraz,
Sarfaraz would have been a controversial pick because he's very slow in T20. I don't know. He could have been picked. Yeah, he
well, he
could have
would
been
have been
tested out.
picked for the
But
wicketkeeper
but
because,
people were really concerned about Haider Ali not getting a chance, and that would have been a perfect situation where Fakhar Zaman is
yeah,
known
yeah,
to
yeah.
open anyway. You could have brought him earlier, and Haider Ali could have taken his spot and rest Rizwan for the final, right? That was another bad judgment because if he was already sick and you're having him play semifinal, you're not giving him enough time to recover. And
Yeah.
I think his presence in the final was more important than semifinal in this case.
Yeah. And I feel like, in many ways, I feel like God was on Pakistan's side. We'll, talk about
Yeah, so we're missed.
Warner's dismissal, Australia dropping catches. Have you ever heard of that? I'd never
I've never
seen
heard of
that.
that. Pakistan being criticized on since the team has gotten so good. Now we're criticizing how the runouts were missed, the direct hits, and I'm like, we're ungrateful.
Yeah.
We're
That's the
even
thing we
making these
never
attempts.
criticized
It's
before.
yeah, and then that happened to Australia as well. So I think the best team really won that day. I can't say Pakistan was weak because they made more mistakes than we did. On that topic, what are your thoughts? What side of spectrum are you on emotionally? But what are your thoughts on that? Are you happy with the total performance, or are you upset that things could have been done differently?
I'm 100% happy. I'm totally in the grateful, gratitude, blessed kind of a zone. I feel all the things you've said, I'm not going to repeat them again. I agree with 100% of the things that you've said. I just feel like nobody was expecting this team to be reaching the semifinal. People were talking about India, New Zealand, even West Indies before Pakistan, because West Indies had won 2 World Cups before. So people even had them ranking higher. So I feel like they beat not only the odds, but showed that they were very consistent. And I think they did great overall. It's okay. Anybody could get out in these knockout stages. You just need one bad game, couple of bad decisions or mistakes, and you're out of the game, out of the tournament. It could happen to anybody. So I think anybody who reaches the semifinal and gets dropped out, it's just a matter of chance. It's like that day wasn't your day, and that's fine. It happened. Could happen to anybody.
Yeah, and I think this knockout loss stung the least out of all the
Yeah.
ones we've been through in our lifetime because I mean it was really 5 stages of grief in a matter of 2 hours.
Yeah.
I concluded to acceptance very fast after
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
at what type of company because when did we start this podcast? We're 8 or 9 episodes in, full episodes. We
Yeah.
started 2 months ago, right? And when we started, we were talking about there was a lot of negativity, uncertainty in the team. We had lost our CEO,
Oh my
Wasim
God.
Khan.
Drama
We had a
after
new
drama.
chairman. We had new coaches. We had uncertainty in selection of the team. New Zealand had bailed out from a tour, and England. From there to what we were celebrating last week, it's man, this is something else. Like this, it takes about 5 to 10 years to improve a team that's going through that much, and we
Exactly.
really proved a lot of heads wrong. And to start off the campaign beating the favorites, it was wonderful. So and let's not forget the unity that we've been showing. Our audience who are upset with our loss, just remember this is the team going forward we have to support. And the unity and the friendship we've seen in the dressing room it's we've
That's
never
most
had that
important.
before. There always been disagreements and fights in the dressing room.
And egos.
And this right. And these 9 of the playing 15 are they played the World Cup for the first time.
That's
So
right.
it's also a new team taking over some experts from other team, and we did wonderfully well. And I'm very happy with that
Yeah,
as
I
well.
feel Pakistan clearly deserved the World Cup. Like but even if they lost, they should be the winners, right? Like that. Nobody, I think, if you just look at it statistically on paper, how things have panned out, clearly this was the deserving team, and we have seen many times before that sometimes the way cricket goes, the deserving team sometimes gets out. And that's just what happened. They won all the games. They were undefeated. Nobody could beat them. They beat the finalist, which is New Zealand. They beat the second favorites, India, in the very first game. So clearly this team was World Cup final worthy and ready. Just one bad game. That's life.
And
Happens.
we have the players with the highest scores, and we were put in the spotlight. Babarazam, you've heard of him on many occasions, and we're Pakistanis, we support him, but he was underrated for sure. They talk about these
Mhm.
fantastic four, and Babarazam is not one of them, which is ridiculous because he is number
Yeah,
one ODI player. He was number one T20, and he's back up there. So to mention the fabulous four on the basis of batting performance and not have Babar Azam clearly shows you that the world hasn't seen him on this stage.
clearly.
And he
That's the thing.
proved a lot of heads wrong. And then Rizwan, who nobody expected, people didn't know who it was. And I totally agree. We are the winners. And for those who are upset, not because of Hassan Ali or Shaheen Afridi's over, just remember they've been saying that, oh, this is if we were going to win the World Cup, this was the team, and that's why they're upset. Well, clearly, this wasn't the team because we didn't win the World Cup, but we
Right.
showed the strength that we have, and we can beat big teams, and that's what's important. And let's just hope this team is still intact when we go on to the next World Cup, which is next year.
Yeah, I want to address the two things real quick. We were just going through Pakistan's batting. You mentioned Hassan Ali's name a couple of times. I want to definitely share my opinion on that. And I did have something to say about Babar because you just mentioned Babar also. I so now putting our critical hat on for a second. Pakistan did great. Not saying anything should be different, but one of the luxuries we have as analysts is to think about areas that could get better, right? So one of the areas that I've been thinking for Babar Azam, and I think I'm not the only one who said it, many people have said it outside of our show as well, that the strike rate is kind of a concern sometimes. He makes it always work. He always does well. By the end of his inning, he always makes up the difference. But when you look at 39 runs off 34 balls in a semifinal game from a captain and the world's best batsman, I don't like those numbers. And those numbers are very common in Babar's history. He's just around, just above the number of balls he's played. Then he gets his 50. Then he hits up, picks it up a little bit. Then he gets to maybe 120 strike rate, 25 maybe, and then he gets out. So I just don't know if this brand of cricket is gonna put you up, put you past the finish line against teams like England, Australia, as we have seen with Australia. They're batting, they come to hit. They don't play around, they don't wait, they don't stay sensible at all times. They're doing paddle shots off of one of the fastest bowlers, Shaheen, and one of the most, they're paddling him across and behind the stumps for sixes. Their number 6, number 5 batsman is doing that. Our batsmen are having a hard time. Our lead batsmen are having a hard time hitting 130, 125 strike rates. And then our numbers 5 and 6, they're also having a hard time against good teams to kind of score at that level. They're giving Cummins an over where they only scored 3 runs. Again, Cummins is a great bowler. Maybe he had a really awesome spell. Good for him. Australia also did really well. They're a smart team. But these are some things with our batting that I'm not liking, because even though we know how to win games, we have been clinical to the definition, 100%. Pakistan has known how to win games. They put in just the right amount of effort to win a game. They don't try to be fancy. They haven't tried to do anything crazy, which I like and respect. And I think that should be the way forward. At the same time, different games demand different kinds of tactics. If every game your tactic is to take the freaking game down to the wire, to the 19th over, 18th over, and not do the hitting with your hitters, your big hitters early on, then you're going to put a lot of pressure in over 18, over 19. And you send in Asif Ali in over 18, and he knows he can only hit. But if he came in over 14, 15, maybe he would have had more time. But we didn't start accelerating until over 16. And that I saw that every game. Over 16 is where they pick up. And I'm thinking, why? You are only 2 out. Pick it up over 12, over 10. Teams after their first 10 overs, they go hard. Our team was not. Our team was very strategic, and I appreciated the thoughtfulness, but that's not the brand of cricket that is going to get us past the finish line, I feel. I don't know what your thoughts on that. I just had to rant for a bit.
That's okay. No, that's completely understood. Two factors that we got to take into consideration. Like you talked about babarazam. Initially, we discussed that he should come down, one down at least. And I think that's the problem. I don't have an issue with his strike rate. I just don't think it is at the role that he's playing right now, because the openers should be faster. They should pick up score. They should pick up 100 runs together within 7 overs. And babarazam obviously is a careful batsman. He brings stability, kind of like Shoaib Malik, but better, right? So I think he should come 2 down. That's where his spot is. And as far as the hitting score in the last 15, 16 over, if you do notice, that happened often in Dubai pitches for some reason. And especially batting first, we put up 179. That was also a good score.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And the second thing was the Hassan
Ali
question, right? Like people pointing fingers at Hassan Ali. You already said that, Stoinis could have done damage too, even if Hassan took that catch. That's one thing. But I also feel like we had other chances. We also got breaks. Australia got 1 break, right? We also got breaks with Warner's wicket, the our own catches were dropped. So that's just part of cricket. One or two catches get dropped, 1 or 2 runouts get missed. Both teams usually end up getting a little bit of that, a little bit of luck that works our way. But I think if we start pointing fingers, then there's a lot of moments you can name that can be the match turning points, right? Because after the game is already done, you could say whatever you want to say, like we're kind of saying right now. So you could say it was Shoaib Malik's not Shoaib Malik, Muhammad Hafiz's dead ball that he bowled, the no ball that got thrown for a 6, that bounced twice before it got to Warner and he pulled it for a 6. You could say that was an extra that we didn't need. You can name Shaheen's 3 sixes that he got right at the very end. At the very death, he's one of the best death bowlers. One can blame him for not knowing how to bowl at that moment to those people who are known to make shots like that, but he kind of gave it to them. So we can name a lot of people. We could blame Babarazam's slow scoring rate to make up for that 20 odd runs that we said we were missing. We could blame it on Asif Ali for getting out on a duck. We could blame it on Shoaib Malik for getting out on a 1. So if we start doing that, it's just not healthy. It doesn't help anyone. It's a team game, team effort. A lot of little mistakes happen on both sides, as they do in a high pressure, high intensity game. So I really think it's stupid to point a finger at Hassan Ali. He's had a rough patch. Sure, he wasn't the best bowler. All right. But he didn't single-handedly made us lose anything either. I mean, every team has had a bowler or two that's gone for runs. He's gone for runs for us. He's also taken a couple of wickets for us here and there. and it's fine. I don't see him as a problem that's causing us to lose, because he didn't. So I think it's not a fair thing to do that to him.
Yeah, it's funny. It's our nature to pinpoint all the weaknesses only when we lose, and we fast forget about it when we win. For example, when Shaheen Afridi gave the overthrow boundary against India match. What if we had lost that match for three by
Imagine
three
that.
runs? Imagine that. And then these players, man, they have families. People are bashing Hassan Ali's family, and the guy didn't really intentionally drop that catch. Things
Oh,
happen.
and I,
Imran
I
Khan has
actually
dropped
think
a
it was a
catch.
tough catch, man. I mean, people aren't
It
talking
was,
about that it was a tough catch.
and let's not forget, Shaheen Afridi gave three sixes. That was the total score. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm not blaming that on him either. But why
right.
are we hating on Hassan Ali so much? It's a team effort, but people are just so harsh. It's just
And
incredible.
we also, have a tendency of just not even recognizing the other team. Like, they didn't come to play. Like, they're also there
Right.
to win, and they're gonna work their butts off. They also have their country's best players. They, they're also gonna have a good day.
it
Some of them,
goes it goes back to the Asif Ali four sixes. When that moment happened, we didn't say anything about the bowler because
right?
we weren't concerned about that.
Yeah. Well, so that's I think that game. uh, Now Australia and New Zealand are there, and that's the last thing we wanted to talk about today. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts on this game, on the final tomorrow?
Very difficult, honestly. I think New Zealand has the edge, but Australia has the fighting power. So it could very well be like Pakistan Australia match, where if Australia bats second, they might cover the score in the last few overs because they like to explode in the last overs. But the bowling attack from New Zealand is pretty good. Bolt is going to come in swinging the ball, and Finch obviously had trouble with the swing of Shaheen Afridi. So if Australia bat first, I don't expect a really high total, and it's just gonna come down to the quality of the pitch and how it responds in the second innings. But if Australia plays second, I think they might take it.
Yeah, I definitely think Australia is going to win, but
Oh yeah,
I also, every time I underestimate New Zealand, they prove me wrong. So I have a very bad way of judging them. I guess
they're
I'm not good
they're
at it.
silent assassins. And 2015 World Cup, they lost to Australia in the final. They make it, man. They're not very loud. They're not very explosive, but they're very clinical.
And they're very nice. I don't mind them winning. I just don't see how the team that beat Pakistan
Yeah,
will lose to New Zealand, because Pakistan was the strongest team, man. And I feel the way Australia batted in the second innings, it was
it's
just
good.
really good. I mean, I don't see lapses in their batting, and I do see lapses in New Zealand batting. New Zealand batting at the top has not been impressive at all. So my concern is there. Like, I guess it really does kind of depend on the toss again, but I do think Australia can chase as they did. I think Pakistan need bowling was better overall than, and has more depth than New Zealand bowling. And if Australia can perform the way they performed against Pakistani bowling, we got a left arm spinner, a right arm spinner, we got pacers of three different flavors. It's a really amazing bowling attack that Pakistan has, and Australians really achieved the highest total against that bowling attack.
And
So
chasing, yeah.
yeah, and that's why I give high marks to their batting. Now with bowling, Australia, I know their bowling struggled in the beginning of the tournament, but they've been just getting better and better, it sounds like. And Pakistan did make good out of their bowling and scored a pretty good total. I don't see New Zealand able to really do that though, because New Zealand, I mean, the spinner Zampas is did really well. If Cummins maintained this form, he's gonna do really well. And then they still have um, Hazelwood and Stark and Maxwell. Hazelwood went for the most runs against Pakistan, but everybody else was really good.
I agree with you on who the favorites are. For sure is Australia, but then again, it's T20 cricket. Australia did beat Pakistan, South Africa did beat England, and New Zealand can overcome Australia. So that's the beauty of the game, and we shall see tomorrow.
We shall see tomorrow, and then we'll be back again next week with another episode, and we'll talk about and recap this final game. Hope everyone enjoys the game, and feel free to follow us on Crickellectuals on Twitter. During the game, we'll be sharing some tweets. Come talk to us, engage with us, and until next time, have a good one.